I'm here and I'm real, and you need to deal with that.
Welcome back to the Wordsmith Forge Christian Fiction Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Baines. Today, I'm joined by an author who understands what it means to live out faith in the real world, not just talk about it. Brandon Wilborn is a husband, he's a father, a longtime youth mentor, and a storyteller who writes with purpose. His journey into writing wasn't just about creativity, it was about a calling to tell stories that challenge us to look deeper, to ask what we truly believe and why. In this episode, we explore the heart behind his fantasy novel, The Treasures of Capric, a story built on a powerful question. What happens when people believe but never seek the truth for themselves? If you enjoy meaningful adventure, stories with depth, and conversations that make you think about your own walk, this one's for you. Let's get into it. Audience, won't you join me in welcoming Brandon Wilborn to the Wordsmith Forge Christian Fiction Podcast? Brandon, would you mind telling us something about yourself?
I am a little bit of a jack of all trades. I'm a father. I'm a Christian, obviously. I've been off and on in youth ministry, half times volunteer, half times paid when God asks for that, for about 20, almost 25 years. No, 20 years actually this year.
Yeah.
And got 2 kids, a wife of 19 years, and I write as much as I can in between all those things.
Well, it's always hard to get things in there. I have a theory that we only do those things that we think will make us happy. So
that's not a bad theory. That's definitely a marketing theory part of it.
Yeah, you got to keep a balance there.
Yeah. I kind of like the fire in the bones kind of feeling. I only do it because it just comes out. But then, if I don't, it's gonna burn me up inside.
Yeah.
But, there was a composer who said basically the same thing. Is once it's too unbearable to hold it in, then I let it out.
Yeah. Well, I write when I think it won't make my wife unhappy, because when she's unhappy, I'm unhappy. So
there's definitely a family peace dynamic you need.
Yeah. So you decide what makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you live, Brandon?
I live in Idaho near Boise.
Cool.
And I've been here for
country.
8 years. We've come to love it as well. I grew up as a Navy kid, so we moved around a bit. And Hawaii was home base for the longest, but I actually like Idaho better.
Well, you can walk further in one direction.
This is true. Or drive.
Yeah, drive too. Yeah. So my next question was, have you always lived there? And obviously not.
No, we've, while we didn't move as much as some Navy families, we still moved around. And then, after college and everything, I went to Maine, and Hawaii to Maine was a big shift, and I love the seasons. Yeah. So when I met my wife, it's like she's from North Dakota, I'm from Hawaii, and we can meet in the middle, and Idaho's a great spot.
Yeah. So your wife's from
North Dakota.
North Dakota. Oh, yeah. Okay. So did you notice any particular accent when you were in Maine?
A little bit.
Of the local people?
Mostly it was the older generations.
Yeah.
The younger generations didn't really have it. And I was in a college town, so there was a lot less. It wasn't quite as bad as like a Northern England accent, but it definitely was. Where's that coming? But then in Hawaii, you get the accent as well.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you were used to that. Yeah. Is there some place around there now that you like to just go and settle yourself, think about things?
There's a mountain, 45 minutes away, where we go up a couple times a year usually. And, you drive an hour and you can get away from civilization here.
Yeah.
So whether it's snowing or in the spring, there's mushrooms, and in the summer there's huckleberries.
Yeah.
And you can just sit in the woods and be quiet for a while, and sometimes a deer will come by and they don't even know you're there.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful time.
Yeah. Do you get up to the Sawtooths around Stanley?
Not as much. That's much farther for us. But
yeah,
we do a little hunting up north near McCall.
Mm-hmm.
But we may go to the Sawtooths this year for that. My good friend of mine started dragging me hunting as soon as we moved here.
So people can kind of get to know who Brandon Wilborn is a little bit better. What are 3 of your favorite songs?
I knew this question was coming up.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the ongoing, I don't know, it's a joke at this point between my wife and I, in that I struggle with favorites. She's just her personality type. She can pick something out and say, yep, that one and that one. And I'm more of a, well, I kind of like that and I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Why do I have to choose?
Well, the answer to the question is right now, today. Maybe
right
not
now.
tomorrow.
Yes.
So just whatever comes into your mind must be your favorite for right now.
Lately I have been enjoying I don't know where they're from, but it's a kind of a folk band called the Figs.
Huh.
And a couple of young guys, and they have a particular song called East of Eden. That
okay, I'll make a note.
It's about, they're using biblical imagery, but it's about a father's hope for his son to do better than he did.
Oh, yeah. The Figs. Yeah, that sounds very interesting.
I mean, he's using Cain and Abel's story to say, you know, I've made these mistakes and I hope you can get back to Eden, which, you know, is a hope for faith for your children.
Sure.
So it tears my heart out as a dad, but it's just beautiful poetry, and they've got some fun stuff too.
Yeah.
And then
are there other songs?
Other songs I'm really enjoying. There's a young lady who I just learned about named Emma Nissen, and she sounds like Ella Fitzgerald.
Oh, yeah.
And so she's got a song, We're All Just Walking Each Other Home, I think is what it's called. That's a fun one. And then I always go back to like big band or something like that. So, you know, some Glenn Miller, things like that would be fun for me.
Yeah. How about movies?
Movies are a little bit easier. I've got, probably my favorite is Braveheart.
Oh, really?
I just go back to that often, just as you know, a man with purpose and a mission, and it's, you know, highly fictionalized history, but but still, you know, it's good. The first of the Star Trek reboots that they did, and just that first scene when his dad takes over the ship and goes down with the ship, that got me right away.
Yeah.
And other favorites, we just watched Project Hail Mary, and it was fantastic.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah. It's interesting sci-fi, and a guy who's going off to try and save the world and alone, essentially, and ends up meeting a strange little alien, and he's trying to save his planet too. So they work together.
Sounds interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, would you share with us your walk with Christ?
Sure. Let's see. I had an experience when I was about 15, where my parents the year before had decided we need to get back to church, because being in the Navy, they didn't necessarily do that as often as they wanted to, or it was always a challenge. You move to a new place and you try and find a new church.
Yeah.
It's disruptive. So they just kind of didn't bother. And they got to a point where they decided they needed to go. And where I was at with my personality was, well, I'll go along just not to rock the boat. And about a year into that, I was up front and we were singing a song, and I turned around and there was a guy in the middle of the aisle behind me, a few rows, and he was holding a baby. like not even a 1-year-old. And the baby was singing the song we were singing. And I did a double take, and then I did a double take, and then I turned around, and there was just a weight on my shoulders and a almost like a voice in my spirit saying, I'm here and I'm real, and you need to deal with that.
Yeah.
Because up to that point, I had said, I don't really care if there's a God. I hope he leaves me alone. And from that point, it was, okay, there's a God. And about a year after that, I gave my life to Christ and got baptized in the ocean and, had my troubles as a kid.
Of course.
Going into college and things like that. There was some sin I hadn't dealt with that I think led to a pretty intense depression and struggle with mental health stuff.
Yep.
And God pulled me out of that. He healed me from that in a way that the doctors said, no, you're going to be on pills all your life.
Yeah.
And I'm not. And it's been, 25 years since I have been.
Yeah. Praise God.
And it keeps getting better as what C.S. Lewis says, further up and further in. There's always more to the kingdom for us to explore. So from there, I finished college, and he basically said, hey, why don't you start working with teenagers? And I've been doing that ever since.
Fantastic. Yeah. Not everyone has those kinds of kind of like a wake up or a little tap on the shoulder. Some people, they would never deny and you wouldn't either, ever deny that experience.
Yeah. It took me a while to be comfortable telling people about that one.
Well, yeah.
Because it sounds unreal.
It does. But it's spiritual. It's of the Spirit. And we don't do well with things that aren't real or appear to be not real to us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. You think that would have gotten my attention more than it did, but
well,
I think God uses what each of us need to get our attention.
And at the right time.
Yes.
Jesus is the slowest person I know that's always on time.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, that probably just needed to marinate. And you were probably questioning yourself, did I really see that?
Oh, yes.
And so that's why, why would you share that? But all these years, and it's still like it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And so how can you deny that? I think that's absolutely wonderful. Thrilling.
It can be. And not everybody gets something dramatic. Not everybody needs something dramatic. Some people, it's their brain and logic, and they're fine. And some of us are a little more stubborn, I think.
So what prompted you to start writing Christian fiction?
I had always wanted to write that. I can go back to third grade, second grade, and remember the first stories that I wrote.
Yeah.
And I think it was probably first grade, my first lesson in plagiarism. Teacher told me to write a story, so I wrote the synopsis of a movie I liked at the time. And funnily enough, I later got to meet the guy who worked on the movie.
Yeah.
And he hated it. But as a kid, I loved it.
Yeah.
And so I always had this desire to tell stories. And in high school thought, man, I'd be great to be a writer. And when I got to finishing, I was going to seminary and I didn't have a specific call to go into full-time ministry, but I felt like I needed to be there to get trained.
Yeah. Yeah.
And towards the end, I was praying and saying, what am I here for? Why am I taking this course? And felt like God said, here's a story I want you to tell. And this is a story that you're going to pour your understanding of me into it. And that's going to be your way of reaching people.
Oh, that's great.
And so it was given to me essentially. And not to say it was inspired. It's certainly not that, but as I would write, I would finish a chapter, and it was as if it would just come down ready to go the next day or the next thing. It took me a long time to finish. And it's just, I'm not a fast writer, and it's not a livelihood at this point. So we have to do other things.
Sure. Few of the people that I've interviewed say that their writing is their meal ticket that they depend on and live on. I would not want to be in that situation.
I'm beginning more and more to realize that would be extremely stressful.
Yeah. I know I couldn't write anything if I said, we're not going to make the house payment if this doesn't sell, Gosh, that'd be stressful. But those people, compared to me, those people are writers, and I'm just an author.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Well, you can string sentences together, put a front cover and a back cover on it, go through Kindle publishing, and your book is on Amazon, and you're an author.
This is true.
Some
people have done it with blank books too.
Yeah. Here's a book with lines. You can fill it in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a biblical truth or passage that kind of anchors your books? Now, you have The Treasure of Capric, The King of Caves. You wrote that and published it in 2019. And then you've done something really interesting here with audio. Tell us how that came about.
The audio, I went ahead and recorded myself. I used to be a drama guy in high school, so I can do different voices and play with it.
Well, you do have a good voice that resonates well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I found, well, if you're going to write fantasy, audiobooks are extremely expensive to create.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got the equipment, had a guy teach me how to use the software, and made my go at it and put it on as a podcast, kind of episodes, so that people could listen to it for free. It's, the first book in the series, and actually had a crazy idea that somebody gave me, and nobody's done it yet. And I'm working on something that is it's the audio book recording that I did, but somebody said, hey, why don't you take some video game footage and put that to it and put it on YouTube and see what happens. Yeah. And so I haven't finished that project yet, but that's going to be coming just to see if people are interested. But, that was the first book. I finished a shorter follow-up, but haven't done the audio for that one yet. Your question though.
Yes.
I think you started the question with a biblical basis.
Which biblical truth or passage anchors your book that we're talking about right now?
The anchor of The Treasure of Capric the question I started with was, what if you had a group of people who were very religious, but lost their scripture?
But lost their scriptures?
Yes.
Ah.
And they didn't know that that's what they had lost.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's about it's a young man who's being trained as a monk. Mm-hmm. They have this protective mission that they have of, hey, we have this treasure that's been entrusted to us, and our job is to protect it. So they train daily and they get education about their religion, but the treasure's locked away. And what they don't know is the treasure is actually their scripture. It's the basis and the foundation of their entire belief system, but they're not touching it. It's to protect it. It's been locked away.
Yeah.
And the question I had was just, there's so many people I knew who would say they were Christian, but have never read the Bible. They've never read the entire scriptures themselves. So they're being told what to believe rather than going to the source and meeting God there themselves.
Wow.
And so the young man, again, not knowing what it is, goes searching for it because they find out it's been stolen, and they run off on a quest to go get it back. but they still don't know what it is. And then they finally get to a point where they discover it and discover the person behind it.
Yeah, interesting. Have you ever had a non-Christian try to tell you what you would do if you were actually a Christian?
On occasion.
They like to think, well, you wouldn't say that if you were really a Christian or whatever. So many of our listeners are looking for books that men, boys, and of course, entire families can enjoy. But do you feel like your books are maybe pointed more at boys or men?
Yes. They're definitely aimed at probably, 15, 16 and up for men. I think that's probably as young as you would want to go. There is it's fantasy, there's battle violence, and there is a chapter where, he's dealing with strong temptations, and there is, it's symbolized and it's a metaphor with, kind of mythological sirens and things like that, but it's still, he's dealing with strong temptations that young men especially are going to face these days, but older men too. And so it's giving us this realistic thing of what we're dealing with. And sometimes that's where life takes you. So I do have actually a lot more women reading than men. I think that's just across the board for fiction, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The audience is much larger. So proportionately,
yes. But there's still, it's aimed at men, is geared at men. If a woman can enjoy Lord of the Rings, for instance, then she'd be fine with what I've got. I probably have just as many women in that first book as he does.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I applaud the way you approach that, because the world educates us on how we will react to certain things, temptations, violence, all those things. The world educates us on that, whether we know it or not, subtle things that we see on TV or read in literature. And so Jesus wrote in parables, and we learned a lot from it. And so when we see our protagonist considering how to handle something, violence or temptation, we need to have that instruction as well, whether we realize we're being instructed or not.
Yes.
I think it comes through.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I would say, like I said, 15 and up is usually what people would say is a good. I try to keep things PG-13. If you can watch, Raiders of the Lost Ark, for instance, it's not going to get any more violent than that. And then, anything physical between men and women is off screen. You don't see anything like that. So,
well, we don't need to put some things in people's heads.
Right.
And I believe that they have a better imagination that fits their experiences than we can write when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, whatever their experiences is, they will fill it in.
And you don't necessarily want to push too hard on that and force them to fill much in if you can help it.
No, certainly don't. That would be one concern I would have about Christian romance. Because, moms read a romance book. Maybe it's Christian fiction. I don't know, because I don't read them. And then the 12-year-old daughter picks it up and reads it and says, oh, now I know what to expect when I become a woman. This is when I'm with a man, I'll know how it works. Meanwhile, the man is in the dark of his bedroom on the internet looking at things he shouldn't be. And he says, now I know what women like. When I'm with a woman, I'll know how to treat her.
Unfortunate, yes.
Conflict is nothing more than unrealized expectations. And so in that case, both people are going to be sorely disappointed.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Peretti in one of your interviews as being
Yeah.
a favorite of yours.
Yes, sir.
And I feel like This Present Darkness, he handles that topic very well, even though it's a core part of the plot.
Yeah,
He handles it so well.
exactly. I took the liberty of writing down a review that you have on your book. Big thumbs up for the writing style. I love a novel where the story just flows naturally, and this was the case with The Treasure of Capric. It's an inspiring initiation journey which will appeal to young and old. The plot unfolds as you follow the journey of a young Capric monk, Corinne, and his sidekicks, and slowly wraps you in the layers of magic, forgotten history, and mystery. I really enjoyed it and recommend this reading whether you are young or old, into fantasy or not. There is an innocence to the characters which is beguiling and bringing back childhood memories and friendships. I thought that was a very, very nice and an endearing review of your book.
Thank you very much. I've never had somebody read it out loud to me.
Brandon, how do you hope that your book sharpens the faith of the reader?
I think the hope is largely based on that initial question I had, the premise of the book, which was, have you actually looked into this yourself? Have you done the work to know what you believe and know what your book says, so that you can follow it as much as you possibly can, with the strength of the Lord, obviously. But yeah, are you being fed, or are you going out there and making sure you're getting the bread you need every day?
Right. Yeah. There's a big difference between either I think, I believe, and I know. So I think I'll go to heaven. Well, you haven't done your homework. You need to say, I know my Savior is real and he's called me. I will. If the trumpet blows, I'm going up. If I'm through with this earthly tent before the trumpet blows, I'm going up. I think it's important to get past that. I believe, I think, and put I know.
Yeah.
And I don't mean the believe in, do you believe in Jesus? Of course I do. But I also know Jesus.
Right. And just the trust level.
Yeah. Was there an author that you feel shaped you early on?
I think I got hooked into fantasy very early, mostly from The Hobbit.
Oh, yeah.
I was 4 years old and I saw the cartoon version of The Hobbit from the 70s, I think.
Oh,
or 60s. I'm not even sure. And when I was in third grade, I saw the book in the school library and I said, I know that story. And I read it as fast as I possibly could and loved it. So Tolkien has always been a big influence. I didn't read Lewis until I was an adult. Yeah. But enjoyed the Chronicles of Narnia and thought, what if we could blend the allegory and non-allegory and see what we find with here. And then, there's obviously been others, but, it's been until I started writing what I was writing, I wasn't as aware that there was very much Christian fiction out there, and there's a huge amount.
Yeah.
So I wish I could say more of them are Christians, but I've been finding more of those in the last few years than before.
I think so. One of the things I try very hard to do is check as near as I can and make it plain that I'm looking for clean Christian fiction.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you can represent things without giving all the details.
Sure.
I mean, Paul used some colorful language on occasion, but it wasn't vulgar language.
Yeah. And there are very successful authors that weren't even writing Christian fiction. His name just left me, but he wrote Western series.
You thinking Louis L'Amour?
Thank you. Yeah, his books. So you don't have to use vulgarity. People can fill it in.
Yep.
He cursed under his breath. Okay, I got it. That's all I need.
Yes.
Do you feel you had a character that you started writing and all of a sudden he went haywire? He went made a left turn without signaling. And you had to write that character to find out where he was going.
In this book, I didn't feel like that happened specifically. I hadn't plotted it as much. I had an end point and a beginning point, and I had a few scenes in mind along the way. There was one where a character just showed up that I didn't expect. And who's that guy? They knock on the door, and rather than the person I was expecting, some other guy opened the door, and he was a surprise to everybody. But he's become one of my favorite characters.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of think that's a God thing. And
I think so.
They show up in a lot of different people's books.
Yeah. I hear a lot of people say that. As I'm trying to write a sequel, there's definitely been the sense of I am not equipped for this, and I have to trust God to help me get through it.
Yeah.
Again, there have been times where I didn't expect that to, but there it is.
Yeah.
And trying to, I think the hardest thing has been, dealing with one antagonist, one villain, or at least a small group who are working together. Mm-hmm. That was relatively easy. It makes sense. It's easy to track, but dealing with a broader array of people with different motives than the protagonist, that's become more challenging. And then the politics gets involved, and then, there's hidden motives and obvious motives. And that's been the challenge for me. That God's helping me work through.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't know what to write, but you just have to write and write a sentence that kind of relates, and you build on that. Hmm. So if you were talking to a skeptical man about reading your book, what would you say to him?
Before or after?
You got the book written and he's skeptical about reading it.
Oh, he's skeptical. Oh, okay. I was trying to understand. Are you meaning skeptical from a faith perspective or skeptical about reading a book?
I see how you would. Yeah, that is confusing. But yeah, just here's my book. You want to read it? I don't know. Why would I want to?
Yeah, I'd probably ask him some questions and say, hey, what kind of books do you enjoy? Do you like, racing against the clock to get there before the bad guy and, to find something and save it? Then that's a great book for you. If you're into romance, it's probably not going to be a good fit.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of my other questions you have already answered. What inspired you to write your latest book? How'd you come up with the idea? I like this question. Is there a character in your book that you relate to?
There's a little bit of several of them, but I think Tobin is probably the one that I most relate to. Mm. He's on the analytical side. He likes to have all the answers before he makes a move, and he's a bit more timid. And he works through that a little bit through the story, but that's probably the one I relate to the most.
Your writing, is there anything in the story that surprised you? You mentioned the person behind the door.
Yes. I think one of the things that did surprise me was the captain who's chasing the Curian and his crew. he was a lot more vicious than I anticipated.
Yeah.
Just in his, he comes to just hate them for no good reason. It's not just that he's on a mission anymore. He just comes to hate them, and his malice kind of surprised me.
Gosh, but that sounds very, very believable and probable. It becomes personal.
It did, yes. I think that's what drove it. It became personal. Yeah. He was the competent soldier, and they were boys in his eyes.
Yeah.
And they humiliated him a couple of times.
He underestimated him.
Yes. But the personal vendetta becomes a big deal. But then also for him, his own hatred of where he's ended up in life and the choices that he's made, where he loves it and hates it at the same time. And I think having gone through a season of life where I kept making bad choices and knew it was wrong, but still couldn't stop myself. And then eventually God got a hold of me, and I was fortunate enough to pay attention, and he's not.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. How do you engage with your readers? Do you have a Facebook page or
that's the question you're asking.
Yeah. Or do they just go to Amazon.com?
I've done a couple of podcasts, like this and chatted with people who talk to readers. I was involved for a little while with the Realm Makers, which is a Christian fantasy and sci-fi group. I haven't gotten back in with them, but that was a bit of a conversation starter. Mm-hmm. And I've got an email list where, they've got a few free stories, short stories. One of them is the origin of the order that Currian is part of, the Caprics. And, goes back a few centuries in the storyline, but tells how they started. And then some of those characters have a surprise appearance in the book as well. But, I do have an email list. I also write nonfiction and fiction on Substack, so I get to have some feedback there in that way.
I believe that's where we connected.
Yes, originally.
Yeah, because I put stuff on there. Well, this has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. As we close it out, is there a message you would like to leave with our audience?
It's at the heart of what I write most of the time, is find the truth. Yeah. And the truth is not just a fact, it's a person.
Very good. Yeah. Well, Brandon, could I pray with you?
Absolutely.
Our Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for the gifts that you give us. And we pray that we utilize those gifts, whether it's working with the youth most of the time and writing a little of the time, or there's also the gift of being a father and a husband. And we need knowledge to balance that all. And we just ask that you place your hand on Brandon's shoulder and lead him as he tries to be the best he can at all of these different endeavors that he has. And we certainly appreciate his gift of writing, and may his books, his audios, and the things that he has yet to create touch people's lives. They find their way better, they make better choices. We just thank you, ask that you go with us and bless our work. In thy name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Well, I will leave you with that, and I certainly appreciate you giving us your time and your experience, and I think you have something of great value to offer through your skill as a writer.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
Go forth and do great and wonderful things, and imagine we'll be in contact somewhere down the road.
I hope so.
So thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Brandon shared something simple but powerful. Find the truth and understand that the truth is not just a fact. It's a person. That idea sits right at the center of not only his writing, but the kind of stories we try to highlight here. Stories that entertain, yes, but stories that also challenge, sharpen, and encourage. If this episode got you thinking, please do me a favor. Subscribe so you don't miss upcoming conversations. Share this episode with someone who enjoys clean, meaningful fiction. And leave a comment. Both Brandon and I would love to hear your thoughts. You can also find Brandon's work, including The Treasure of Capric, online, and I encourage you to check it out. Until next time, keep reading, keep thinking, and keep forging your faith through stories. This is Mike Baines, out.